How you doing? This is Rev May here. Glad to see you today. Can't see you, but you can see me. We're going to have a great day today. I'm going to move right along. Not going to waste any time of yours. If you have a chance, bottom right-hand corner, hit the little red button and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. If you want to wait till the end, a picture of me will come up and around. Just hit it and give me a thumbs up, and that'll help me get this pushed out to other people. Today we're going to talk about don't punish out of anger. That's not a good thing to do. Don't make important decisions or correct people when you're angered. That's not the time to do it. You'll wind up going back and saying, I'm sorry. You'll have to apologize, because when you do things when you're hot under the collar, you wind up for saying, hey, I shouldn't have done that. You say things you really don't mean to say and you don't want to say. So learn to control your anger. Psalms 38:1. O Lord, do not rebuke me in your anger or discipline me in your wrath. All right? A child that cries out to his father, so David was crying out to God. He was a child of God. He was crying out to God. David was not saying, don't punish me. David wasn't saying, I don't deserve it. David was saying, punish me when you're not angry. All right? Because usually if you punish somebody when you're angry, you do it a lot harder and a lot harsher. I've watched a lot of those court shows on TV, and I'm not talking about actors. I'm talking about real court, all right? And so many times the guy will get smart with a judge, be rebellious, and the judge will say 30 days in jail for contempt of court. Then he calls him another choice name, 60. You want to go for 90? And then the guy throws something at him. He was 180. You want to throw something else? They take him out of the courtroom. Hour, 2 hours later, they bring him back in. The judge has cooled down. That guy's cooled down. And the judge will say, do you have something to say? Yes, sir. I'm sorry I talked to you the way I did. I shouldn't have done it. I was out of line, and I'm sorry. The judge goes, okay, then it won't be 180 days. It'll be 1 day. You're going to spend the night in jail. You go home in the morning. Why? Because he's not angry no more. You shouldn't get angry with a judge and call him filthy names and stuff like that when you're in court. Let me give you a little hint. That don't come out good for you, all right? And you either eat some crow like that guy did and apologize and hope that he'll cut your sentence down, or you might be spending 6 months in jail just for getting your mouth run off. So learn to control your anger. Don't punish people out of anger. He acknowledged that he deserved to be punished, but he asked God to temper the discipline with mercy like we give our children. We are free to ask for mercy. There's nothing wrong with asking for mercy, but we should never deny that we deserve to be punished. If you do something wrong and God is going to let some punishment come on you, you deserve it. But you don't want to get it when he's angry at you. Does that make sense to you? We need to realize that God is a loving God. But he's still, if you zig when you should have zagged, all right? I'll give you a good example. You go out and have a one-night stand, whether it be a woman or man. Either one. I mean, a man gets a woman pregnant, all right? They're going to come knocking at the door in 9 or 10 months wanting child support, all right? When you do something like that, you have to pay for it, all right? You got to pay. But you don't want to do things out of anger, but you have to understand that no good deed goes unpunished, and no thing that you've done wrong is going to go unpunished. But you don't want to be punished out of anger, because then it's too bad. It really becomes, we deserve to be punished. All right, you have to admit, hey, I've sinned. You know, I deserve to be punished. But I don't want you to be harsh on me, Lord. I don't want you to be real harsh on me. Show me mercy. When I was 4 years old, my mother went out to buy groceries. And my mom had just had her living room wallpapered. My mom liked wallpaper. When I was a kid, the downstairs, the 3 rooms downstairs were wallpapered. And every few years she'd change the wallpaper. She just had the wallpaper done. And what happened? I got a box of Crayolas my dad was reading a book or studying his Bible. I don't remember, but he was reading. And I went to work on the wall. And when my mom came in, she dropped her groceries, let out a blood-curdling scream. My dad pulled his book down, and there I was. I had colored all over her new wall with colors. She was not a happy camper. She kept grabbing at me, trying to get me, and my dad stayed between us. And my dad told her. Now, the reason I'm telling you this, my parents told me this many times. I don't have a memory about it. I was only 4. But maybe Mom said I was almost 5. But I just don't remember it. But anyway, Dad and Mom did. And Dad stayed between me, and he kept telling Mom, you can't discipline him. You're too mad. You're too angry. You can't do it. She kept reaching for me, trying to get me. My dad goes, look, you got to stop it, Franny. He called my mom Franny. Her name was Frances. And so Mom went into the kitchen, and Dad kept me in the living room. And at that time, we lived in a 3-room house. We had a living room, a bedroom, and a kitchen. That was it. All 4 of us slept in the same bedroom. Me and my sister slept in bunk beds. And so my dad kept me in the living room with him, I guess, to protect me. And after Mom cooled down and came in and looked at the wall and started crying again, but she was in the crying stage, not the whooping stage, all right? Dad told her, I should have paid attention more. I wasn't paying attention to him. It's basically my fault. Mom says he's not going to learn if he don't get punished. Dad said she hit me on my hand 3 or 4 times and told me no. And she took my Crayolas and told me I couldn't play with them for a certain amount of time and took the Crayolas away from me. And when you're 4, you're too young to know a whole lot. But my dad saved me. He said, hey, you can't punish him when you're angry, because if you do, you'll whip him too hard. Then you'll be sorry. You're not going to do it. So he wouldn't let her. So that's a prime example of tampering your temper. I deserved to be punished. Should have been punished, but my mom needed to do it when she wasn't angry and when she wasn't super mad. Hope your kid never does nothing like that. I don't think too many people use wallpaper anymore, but if they did draw on a wall, a lot of that paint, you can wash it now. So I'm just saying, if something happens to your kid like that, remember what I told you. My dad told me you did wrong and you deserved to be punished. But I couldn't let Mom punish you while she was angry. That's not the time to do it. And when I was training to be a manager years and years and years ago, I was a manager for over 30 years. Plus I pastored. And I was trained in management school. If you're mad at somebody, don't correct them then. You'll say things you don't mean. They'll say things they don't mean. They may escalate it. You'll escalate it. So when I had bad news for a salesperson did something wrong, I waited till just before we closed. Then I called them in my office, told them how good they were, and how much I appreciated them working there. And if they had done certain things, like had great months or whatever, I acknowledged that. Then I went to the meat of it. I already gave them a little the patty. We called it the hamburger. We put the bun, the meat, and then the bun again. I patted them, told them they did a good job, that they were a good employee. But here, we got a problem today. You got rude with that customer. And you got up in their face when they called you a dirty name. And you shouldn't have done that. And yeah, he just made me real mad. And I said, I told you, that guy's mad. If he acts up, I'll come out and take care of it. I'll deal with it. But you went at him. Then he went at you, and it escalated. I had to get in between you two. I said, that ain't going to happen again. When I tell you to go out to a customer and see if you can handle it, if you can't, and I tell you I'll take care of it, I'll be standing right at the door of my office, and I'll come out and handle it. I'll handle it, all right? Not you, me. I'm the boss. And so if they were mad about what I told them, they took it home. By morning, when they came back to work, it was over. Never correct them first thing in the morning. Because if they don't like it and you upset them, all day long they're going to poison the water. And pretty soon every salesman in the place is going to know why they're unhappy, what's going on and all that. And I didn't let that go on. So I did it when I wasn't angry. When they did something stupid, if it's something I had to stop them with, we had one where our car's on the showroom floor, we disconnect the battery, and we took the keys out of it. All right? My salesman just pulled it in. The wash guy brought it up and backed it in, and my salesman lined it up where it was lined up right. And he got out of the pickup truck. It was a little D50, which is basically a Mitsubishi Dodge truck. And he got out of it and went over to close the doors to the showroom because it was like 95 degrees out and we were letting all of our cold air out. He didn't take the keys out. And they hadn't disconnected the battery yet. All right, he should have hollered at one of the other guys, hey, close the door for me. And he should have took the keys out of the truck and then popped the hood and took the battery out. That's the way they were taught to do it. He didn't. He got out, he went over to the door. Some 10-year-old kid jumped in there, hit it, popped the clutch, and he took the desk that was in front of him and took it right through the glass window, and the truck went right out through the glass window onto the pad. And our big window that went from the floor to the ceiling, probably 12, 14 feet tall, was gone. And the truck went right through the window. And the kid didn't get hurt. And so I was really upset. I went over and said, how in the world did this happen? Then he told me what happened. I left the keys in it. The doors were open. All the heat was coming in, so I ran over to close the doors and latch them. You have to put the latches so it won't pop open. And I said, and what did we train you? Well, I should have had another guy with me and told him when we pull that in, will you close the doors? And then I take the keys out, pop the hood, disconnect the battery. Right? Yeah, you didn't do it, did you? Well, I didn't think it'd be a problem. I jumped out. I was mad. All right? So I had to call a glass company right away. Of course, everybody in the place heard it. Everybody come running up. The showroom was covered with glass. I was not happy. But that's as far as I took it. And I told him to call in the back and tell the maintenance man. I said, no, I'll take care of it myself. So I called the maintenance man, told him, you need to come up and get rid of all that glass, push that desk back in. I got one of my top salesmen. I said, can you take care of the truck, pull it back? We're going to have to look it over, make sure it don't have any damage and all that. I waited till closing time. And after they come and boarded that up because they had to order special glass, we got ready to leave. I said, I need to talk to you. And I took him in the office, and then I told him how the cow ate the cabbage. That can't happen again. All right? You made a mistake. We trained you. We told you when you pull a car in the showroom, what's the first thing you do? Pull the keys. I said, second thing, put the emergency brake on. Yep. What's the third thing? Pop the hood, disconnect the battery. I said, yep. And what did we tell you about the door? When you get ready to pull one in, get one of the guys and tell them as soon as I pull it in, close the doors. Because if it's wintertime, we're going to lose a lot of heat. If it's summertime, we're going to lose a lot of cool air. When you open those big doors where you can pull a car in, it's a lot of space. And I said, you didn't get nobody to help you. And you had nobody close the door, and you went to do it yourself, left the keys in, look what happened. He said, am I going to get fired? I said, no. You're a good employee. You messed up. Admit it. I messed up. I did it wrong. Okay, that's all I need. Don't do it again. We're not going to go through this again, are we? No. I said, because if we do, I'm probably going to wind up suspending you without pay and taking your demo for a while. I like you. You're a good salesperson. I really don't want to fire you. But that's probably what will happen if you do this again. We're going to probably either part company or you're going to wind up getting a couple of weeks off without pay and losing your demo for a month. Take you out of your wheels and then put you on your heels. He goes, I got it. I go, okay, we're good. And he said, yeah, and he left. So if he was upset, he got it done by morning. It was over with. That's what you need to do as a child of God. You can't go after people when you're angry. It just don't work, all right? So when my mom realized later after my dad told her that you can't go after the boy when you're mad, but she finally realized it was the right thing to do. I knew my parents loved me. I knew that God loves me. But when you've done something wrong and it's time to be punished, then you gotta take your hits because of what you did. It's just the way it is. Proverbs 16:22. He who is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his spirit than he who captures a city. All right? And he who rules his spirit than he who has captured a city. Being in control of your emotions, being in control of your anger is more important than capturing a city. More important than anything, you have to learn self-control. You can't get mad at the drop of a hat. All right? If you deal with John Q. Public, you have to have thick skin. All right? You can't be thin-skinned. If you're a pastor of a church, you're going to have to settle disputes. You're going to have to sometimes step in between people. You're going to have to try to mediate things. And I've had many pastors tell me, that's something I hate. I hate doing it. I don't like getting involved. I try to let them settle it themselves. I said, you can't do that. He come to me and asked me for advice. I said, you can't do that. You can't ignore a problem and hope it goes away. All right, like that car that went through the window. I got to have a new glass. Me putting a piece of paper up over it, not going to solve the problem. Me walking by it, not paying attention to it, not going to solve the problem. Problem's got to be fixed. You must realize that when you have a problem, it needs to be taken care of, and you have to deal with it. And I told the pastor, I said, look, I love you. You asked me for my opinion. If you keep letting people argue and fight and you don't stop them, you don't do nothing about it, because you don't like doing that, you don't like correcting people, reprove, rebuke, and exhort. 2 of them are for correction. I said, if you don't like correcting people, you need to go get a job selling ice cream and not be a pastor, because you're going to have to play the guy in the middle. You're going to have to solve disputes. That's part of your job. It's part of the job description. Nobody likes it. I didn't like having to discipline my employees, but I had to do it. It's just the way it is. And so if you can't deal with it, you need to sell ice cream, all right? We should not lose our temper real easy, fly off the handle, and get mad at the drop of a hat because we have no self-control and we just get angered and we talk angry to people. That's not what God likes. That's not what he wants. Psalms 37:8 says, cease from anger and forsake wrath. Do not fret. It leads only to evil doing. You're going to have nothing but evil doing if you don't learn to control the anger and forsake wrath. Don't try to carry out revenge on people. He did me tit for tat. He did this, I'll do that. You're not part of the world no more. You're a child of God. God don't get even with people. God don't want you going around keeping score with people, all right? You got to learn to cease from your anger and forsake your wrath. Ephesians 4:26 and 27 says, be angry, yet do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger. The Lord's telling us here, you can be angry, but by the end of the day, you got to get over it. Don't let it go down, because if you go to bed angered, you won't sleep, you'll be upset, you'll be getting up at 2 in the morning, your wife is saying, what's wrong with you? I'm still upset about this and that. You got to get rid of it before you go to bed at night. You can't go on and be angry at people. It'll only hurt you, all right? Verse 27 says, and do not give the devil an opportunity. When you won't forgive people, and when you get mad at the drop of a hat, and when you won't get rid of anger before you go to bed at night, guess what? You're a person that's going to have problems, and you're bringing them on yourself, and you need to stop it, and stop doing what you're doing, and don't give the devil an opportunity. When you give the devil an opportunity is when you won't let it go. You won't let your anger go, and you keep bringing it up. I forgave you. If you forgave him, you quit bringing it up. Get rid of the anger. Don't let the sun go down on your wrath. In other words, don't go to bed angry. Get it taken care of. Get a clear conscience, all right? Romans 12:19 says, never take your own revenge, beloved. Don't take your own revenge, but leave room for the wrath of God. If somebody does you wrong, and I've said this to people that did me wrong, and I'm talking about mostly at church. I'd say, look, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm going to let God take care of you. And then I quote him the scripture, never take your own revenge, beloved, but leave room for the wrath of God. If you don't make peace with me and the people in the church, and you don't apologize for what you did, the wrath of God's going to be hitting you, bud. You ain't going to be sleeping good. You're going to have all sorts of problems. I'm going to let God take. He can take care of you a lot better than I can. But you're not going to talk that way in the church to women. You're not going to say that. And you're not coming back here until you apologize to these ladies and what you said. Because that dog ain't going to hunt around here. All right? You have to nip it in the bud. But you don't get... I didn't hate him. You can't talk to women that way. You're going to, guy said some things he shouldn't have said in front of the women and caused a problem. And then he got angered when they called his hand on it. And then when I tried to intervene, he got angry with me and he got up and put his finger in my face. And I said, you don't want to do that. You need to sit down and calm down. So anyway, you have to take care of stuff like that. Never take your own revenge, beloved, but leave room for the wrath of God. For it is written, vengeance is mine. I will repay, saith the Lord. The Lord will take the vengeance on people. He'll do it for you. You don't have to do it. God does a much better job than you do. All right, now like that man, I didn't take revenge on him, but somebody had to stop him from saying what he was saying around the women. And somebody had to tell him, you can't do that, it's unacceptable. And then when he got mad about it and started using profanity, I had to show him the door and say, you got to go, all right? I didn't hold hard feelings against him. I didn't wish he was dead or whatever. I never wished him any bad luck. But I told him, you can't hang around the church doing this. You're not going to do it. And so at first he told me we're going to step out. And I said, well, two ways we can do this. You can leave of your own or I can help you leave. I don't want to do it that way, but you're not going to talk that way in front of women. And so later on, a couple weeks later, he came back. He apologized. He said he was sorry, et cetera, et cetera. I never had another thing like that happen again. But he was using foul language and saying derogatory things about women as they came in the church on the steps of the church. So I had to go out there and kind of handle it. Things like that happen. But you don't take your revenge on people like that. I wasn't taking revenge. I'm just telling you can't come in and worship here doing that. You got to apologize for the things you said. And when you do, ask God to forgive you, we're good. He didn't want to do it. And then he got angry and got up in my face. Basically, I can say anything I want to say. I said, not around here you can't. So, anyway, that's not anger. I wasn't mad at him. I didn't lose no sleep over it. I just told him, it's not going to work. We're not going to allow that. So you got and then turn him over to God. God will take care of him. Took a 3 weeks, but God took care of him. He came back. Don't punish when you're angered. All right, let me leave you with that as we wrap this up. Don't punish when you're angered. And don't let the sun go down on your wrath and have anger in your heart when you go to bed at night. You can't do that. All right? You say, what can I do? Forget about it. All right? Forget about it. Somebody gets mad at you and they get up, forget about it. All right? Let it go. All right? They can be upset. They can lose their sleep, not eat, whatever. You're not going to have that because I'm not going to partake in that. Why? Because I'm going to forget about it. All right? Forget about it. Let it go. And that's what you got to do. If you want to serve the Lord, let the Lord leave room for his anger. All right? Remember, the bottom of the screen, there's a little round picture of me. And then there's another video there. If you want to watch the video, that'd be wonderful. If you click on that and subscribe and give me a thumbs up, once in a while share something with somebody, the channel can grow. I can reach more people for the Lord. I love you. God loves you. You have a wonderful day. And I want to say thank you for your time. This time till next time, Old Rev May signing off. You have a wonderful day. And remember, forget about it.